It's round 4 here at Grand Prix Detroit. TJ Rogers alongside Eduardo Sajgalik, and we are jumping in to table C. It is Sam Pardee up against Thiago Saporito. Now, on the left side of the battlefield, it is that Hollow One archetype, and we are going to immediately throw a Bloodghast and a Flamewake Phoenix into the bin, kick it back to Thiago, who's going to throw down a Noble Hierarch.
Right, quick opening turns. Both of these decks want to... The Humans deck takes a little more time to set up. Usually, though, I tend to favor Humans slightly in this matchup. It's quite easy to invalidate the 4/4 body that the Hollow One deck comes up with. The 2/2 flyer, something like a Kitesail Freebooter plus a pump makes it work. So I prefer Humans in this matchup, but it seems like Thiago mulligan to 5.
And on the left side of the battlefield, we see a Street Wraith get cycled. We lose 2 life, throw down a land. That brings back the Bloodghast. It's a 2/1. If Thiago had 10 or less life, it would have haste. Not going to be the case. And then Goblin Lore. Draw 4, discard 3 at random.
Ooh, we got it. Thiago got the Hollow One.
Good living.
But not the Hollow 2.
Oh, jeez. All right. Looks like we are still going to have 6 power on the battlefield. We're actually going to be looking at a larger attack than that. Don't forget about that Flamewake Phoenix that is currently in the graveyard that could come back next turn.
Yeah, and here I wonder how Thiago is going to operate. I like the image in hand copying Hollow One, so I really like this play here. Lacking the land I like less, but there's not much Thiago can do about that.
Yep, so that Phantasmal Image is now a 4/4 artifact creature, and it looks like we might have another 1-mana play from Sam Pardee. This deck is full of them, and I think right now he is weighing the plus-minus of Burning Inquiry against an opponent with no lands in hand.
Yeah, I think because we see that Blackleaf Kips get tapped, that there was a consideration for Gurmag Angler. But here, by the way, the reason Thiago copied the Hollow One, and I like that play, was simply there's not many effects that target in Sam Pardee's deck. The only one really is usually Lightning Bolt in these decks, if they run it like a...
I think he's got 4 in this one.
Yeah. So yeah, but like you're essentially in a perspective where you know this Phantasmal Image will probably live to survive and block. So it gives you the time you need to get there.
Looks like we are going to see a fetch pretty quickly, 3 mana available. There is also the Faithless Looting in the graveyard to be flashbacked if that's ever a desirable play to make.
Yeah, what I really liked about these Hollow One decks is you get incidental value, right? The Bloodghast, the Flamewake Phoenix, the Faithless Looting, just more and more value, which gives you like things like this Gurmag Angler, just a 5/5 for 1 mana.
Now, the nice part about this is by fetching before he cast this, it meant that he did not have to exile either his Faithless Looting or his Flamewake Phoenix and was still able to play this Gurmag Angler for only a single mana, meaning that he can still go for Burning Inquiry and Flamewake Phoenix.
Right, but the reason you saw Sam consider the sequence was, well, what if I draw... You know, you could Burning Inquiry first, but you definitely want that Angler in play, and then you're asking, what if I draw a Bloodghast? I don't get a land to hit it. But I think here, because the Bloodghast wouldn't have haste, and you are dealing a lot of damage, it's okay to do that. Tasigur I have not seen in quite a while. Usually the lack of... Gurmag Angler has had a lot more favors recently, just because of that additional point of power.
There's going to be an attack in. We lost 2 lands out of that alongside that. Tasigur got to be feeling pretty good. 3 lands is about where you want to be in this deck anyway. Yeah,
it was interesting there to not... the Bloodghast came into play last turn, right? So it's a bit interesting here that Sam decided not to attack with Bloodghast since it could come back. And that was the other consideration, right? It was just that.
So that one just hung back, not on blocking duty, not on attacking duty, and we are just going to run it back just like last time, but this time for Thiago Saporito. Phantasmal Image, and this time it's a Gurmag Angler.
Yeah, so essentially here, Thiago is just trying to buy time. The lack of that second land is putting Thiago in a world of hurt and essentially just trying to trade, but it's really, I mean, you trade, but you're still taking incidental damage, right? Like this Phoenix deals 2. This Bloodghast is going to come in. There's a question of attacking with Bloodghast. You know, you just get it back. So yeah, here last turn, I think last turn there was a good angle for Sam to attack with the Bloodghast, but maybe didn't have the land or the Faithless Looting effect and does have it here.
And we're going to see that Bloodghast jump into the battlefield. All that incidental damage, also add on top of that, the Horizon Canopy. It's the only land available, and every time that you tap that one for mana, you're losing a life.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to add up really quickly. At this point, Thiago is quite far behind. The images were great, though. The images prevented things from totally derailing, but yeah, Sam is just going to Faithless Looting since after the first one, any drawn hollow one would be a free 4/4 in play.
2 Bloodghast on the battlefield alongside that Flamewake Phoenix means that there is 6 damage currently. We're going to draw a couple of cards. One of them, a land, and the other one is just going to be another Faithless Looting for later.
Yeah, I like that synergy with the extra Faithless Lootings. You can just put if you're low on cards, you can put it in the bin, since after all, at that point, it just filters your card rather than card disadvantage.
And it's going to be Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, but still 2 mana plays. It's a 2/1 first striker, so it will remain on the battlefield while blocking at least one of these Bloodghasts.
Yeah, I mean, Thalia is a really good creature in this matchup. It stops all the damage from something like a Bloodghast. When boosted enough, it may stop a hollow one, and this deck just wants to set up Faithless Looting, Burning Inquiry.
The Horizon Canopy does punish because it means that new Bloodghast added to the battlefield had haste off of that, so we saw all 3 of them attack alongside that Flamewake Phoenix. One of them hits the bin after Thalia blocks, but Tiago is down to 4 in the first game. Looking at that board at the top, Matt Nass has also come away with a game win.
Yeah, it feels more here that Tiago needed that second land. I mean, the damage from Horizon Canopy is one thing, but a second land here would have permitted Tiago to develop an image plus a Noble Hierarch, and not being able to do so puts him in a probably not unwinnable position at this point, since the most likely scenario, you block the Bloodghast, but yeah, it comes back and you're done.
Yep. All right, that is going to lock it up. Sam Party takes game 1 against Tiago Saporito. That means that there are 2 games on the left side of the battlefield. I don't think we had lands coming for a bit.
Yeah, Tiago was like, how far was this land?
Oh my goodness. So one thing that I do want to note, I'm really excited about this. We saw what Matt Nass is playing, or we talked about it. He's on that new Hardened Scales deck. So is his opponent.
Yeah, both of them. I think both Matt and Alexander have identified. Yeah, this is a new kid on the block. Let's go. So we're getting. So it's funny. Like I don't think we've seen the deck yet, unless I've.
I have not today.
Right. So, and it's funny that the first time we see it, yeah, it's a mirror match. But it says a lot about the power of the deck when both teams decided to run it. It's a lot like when these pro teams, Luis Salvato playing for Player of the Year, like Paulo Vitor, Madness, Sam Party, they also want top. All of these players want a really top end result, right? 11 free is okay, but top 4 is what they're aiming for. They're really going to. They're trying to win the tournament. So when they decide to run a Hardened Scales deck, they're not doing it because it looks cool or it's cute. No, they think it's the real deal, and they think it's the angle with which to attack this tournament. And
this is a deck that really is still in sort of its kind of testing period, right? It's still a deck that every time that we see it, there are small variations both in the main deck and the sideboard. Really, that solidified 60 cards hasn't been found yet.
Right. For example, Alexander Hayne is running a Ruins of Oran Reef.
That one enters the battlefield tapped, but it also taps to for mana, or it puts a +1/+1 counter on an artifact creature.
Colorless creature.
Or a colorless creature.
Yeah, it's. I think it was a colorless shift of another land that did something similar. I mean, Oran Reef. Back
Vastwood?
Yeah, from the original Zendikar. They did the same thing with green creatures. So it was kind of nice to have that callback. But yeah, both players running relatively similar lists. I mean, there's a few cosmetic, so to speak, changes.
Yeah.
So it really just comes down to who can come down the fastest here and really take over the game.
And that Runes of Oran Reef, I think, is an interesting inclusion. I think it was in the winning deck at GP Prague. And even at that time, the inclusion of it was definitely interesting because it does enter the battlefield tapped, and it's unique in most modern playable lands in that aspect. I think the other one that you look at is Valakut.
Yeah, I guess Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, is also...
But that one, usually you don't need to tap that one for mana. It's all about coming in.
That was my moment from GP Prague, the player conceding with 4 Scape Shifts in hand and 6 lands. Actually, against Hardened Scales. Ben Sek also ran this at Grand Prix Prague.
All right, so it's going to be the Hardened Scales mirror. Don't blink, because I don't know how fast this one's going to go, but this is a deck that is capable of exploding onto the battlefield.
Yeah, there's kind of 2 main lines while we wait for the players to actually get a hand that they can keep. The 2 main lines of attack are, line 1 is develop an unsurmountable board. So you're going to get a Steel, not Overseer, that is another format. Steel Overseer, just point blank, kind of overbuilding the board, getting that Arc-bound Ravager, getting that Walking Ballista pumped up, and then kind of having something like Animation Module or Throne of Geth to really go over the top. The alternative is if neither player has a Walking Ballista or Hangerback Walker to interact, Inkmoth Nexus in this deck is a really fast killer. In Prague, that was seen often. A player it seemed like a difficult situation for the Hardened Scales player to navigate, and then you just had Inkmoth Nexus, 9 counters, and bada boom, dead.
And this is a deck that is just supercharged by the card Hardened Scales. Now, that is a 1 green enchantment that when it enters the battlefield, if a +1/+1 counter, or if a counter would be placed on a creature you control or yourself, that you actually add an additional counter. And so when you're talking about things like Arcbound Worker, right? Normally it's a 1/1 for 1, but suddenly among the worst cards in the deck is suddenly a 2/2 for 1.
Right, and then you have Hangerback Walker gets an additional counter when you put 1. It's just, I'm not even sure though it's the best green card in the deck. Ancient Stirrings might actually be better.
So we are going to see an attack in for 1. Arcbound Ravager hits the battlefield, and it's a Dismember from Matt Nass, who his turn 1 just consisted of Darksteel Citadel. One thing to note is that Welding Jar cannot save this Arcbound Ravager.
Nope, and we definitely want to get rid of Ravager because that thing gets out of control fast. I also note that I haven't seen Arcbound Worker into Arcbound Ravager since Mirrodin Standard a long, dark time ago.
Back in the, well, Dark Steel at least.
Yes.
All right.
Dark Steel Ages.
It's going to be Steel Overseer that hits the battlefield. Hardened Scales as well. The only thing that we're missing right now is the creatures to put them on, but don't ignore that Inkmoth Nexus. You can see them kind of wreathed in purple on both sides of that battlefield. That's a card to watch out for.
Yeah, the Inkmoth Nexus, a very key card. And yeah, here, extremely important. Steel Overseer and Hardened Scales are not an interaction you want to face. Interestingly, this deck doesn't have that much interaction. It does. I mean, it does have Walking Ballistas, and there are ways to control the board, but there's not that much removal. So they're both. You can just see how important those removal spells are, though. Like Manas firing Dismember onto the Arcbound Ravager and Walking Ballista, just trading straight up for Steel Overseer.
So what we're seeing now is that the Arcbound Ravager is coming down first. That is enabling the 3rd artifact for this Mox Opal to be able to actually tap for the green mana. For this Ancient Stirrings, we're now taking a look at the top 5. We're going to toss another Inkmoth Nexus in our hand. Alexander Hayne last turn, that Walking Ballista, pays 2 mana into it. It's just a 1/1, but it's able to clean up that Steel Overseer, which even back in the old versions of Affinity, that was a card that if you let it untap, they were running away with the game.
You basically had to give up board control. And you can see Matt choosing the Inkmoth Nexus. This is how important this card is in the matchup. The only card that kind of interacts with it in a positive way is Hangerback Walker. I guess a Walking Ballista with a lot of counters too. But overall, Inkmoth Nexus is really the card you want for this mirror match. It means you can attack on an axis that's really hard for your opponent. Your opponent needs very specific answers to it. If they don't have it, there's very little they can do.
Yep. And this deck also has access to significantly less flying than the deck historically has. And so right now, those 2 Inkmoth Nexus don't have anything stopping them from getting in at least maybe a chip shot bit of infect. There is the 1 Inkmoth Nexus on Hayne's side of the battlefield, but it's currently tapped.
Yeah. Interestingly here, you'll notice that this deck plays free Welding Jars, and that's because it's a Mox Opal deck that needs a critical mass of 0s. And unlike Affinity, which has a few more like Springleaf Draw, Mornifopter, Memnite, these decks don't get to play those cards, so you mostly have to pay mana for your artifacts. So the Welding Jar is kind of a way to have board control plus enabling an early Mox Opal.
You actually have to pay for your artifacts. Ugh.
It's worth it. It's worth it. Look.
It's an Arcbound Ravager, 2 counters on it, and actually, if we activate this Inkmoth Nexus, every time that you sacrifice an artifact, you get 2 counters. I think this actually might be a win this turn.
It's a win assuming Alexander has nothing.
If like a Dismember in hand would throw this off.
Dismember, they usually have access to Nature's Claim as a, 3 up for Hayne and 4 up for Matt Nass. But yeah, this would be a really risky all-in. It just depends on how Matt reads Alexander's hand.
This looks like it to me. We're going to go ahead and sacrifice this Mox Opal to the Arcbound Ravager. That's going to add 2 additional counters to it because of the Hardened Scales. Actually, we might be okay with this. Just trying to come away a positive from the exchange.
I'm okay with that. Just make sure the Ravager survives. Try to deal with a creature on Alexander Haynes' side. You're not in too much danger from the Inkmoth Nexus in front, so I kind of like this. You're threatening on 2 different axes. You don't have to go for it this turn. And actually, with 2 Nexus and the right card or cards in hand for Matt, it might be possible to split the damage across both.
All right, so it's Hardened Scales and flanked by 2 Arcbound Ravagers up against an Arcbound Worker who seems to be on strike against these Ravagers.
It's trying its best, but it's quite difficult. now, interestingly, looking at Haynes' hand, Haynes did not have a way to stop these Inkmoth Nexus, or Nexi, I guess. But I think, yeah, it was kind of right for Matt to not go for it. I think Matt realized, I'm in a pretty commanding position because I have access to 2 Ravagers and 2 Inkmoths against Arcbound Worker and 2 Welding Jars. And yeah, you can see Hayne goes, well, I'm not winning this game by not doing something that isn't bluffing, so I'm definitely going to do that now.
I mean, pretty recently we saw even Reed Duke put out an article about when you're looking at those considerations to go all in, not only weighing out the options of if they have it, but also what's the advantage, you know? Sure, you win, but also if it goes wrong, you just lose because you went all in.
Right, it depends. Like, if you're behind, then you right, it's a consideration of risk versus reward. If you're behind and it allows you to win a game you would otherwise lose, then yeah, for sure, you should go for it, and you can't let your opponent draw more cards. If you're ahead, then it's a different question. It becomes, well, I could go for it, but what do I lose? And if the answer is something, but it's not the end of the world, then that might be okay. But if you're, like, ahead and feel you can stay ahead and win that way, then you shouldn't usually go for it. Usually.
It's going to be double activation of these Inkmoth Nexuses.
Poisonous lands.
Those ones, yeah. Couple of numbers 1 and 2 attacking in alongside those Arcbound Ravagers. It is the full squad getting in. Potentially 2 blockers if one of these other, the Inkmoth Nexus on Haynes' side of the battlefield wants to take to the skies.
Yeah, but once Hayne, I don't think Hayne can activate the Inkmoth, since it would just be lethal damage straight up. Unless Hayne is bluffing. Hayne basically by activating this is going, I have Dismember.
Yep. One thing also to note, and I don't think we're actually blocking any of the Inkmoth Nexus. Okay, so we're not, but actually the Welding Jars would also not be able to protect, though the Welding Jars currently can protect both of these creatures from the Arcbound Ravagers.
Right, and that's why you see this play is essentially Hayne is going, well, I can Dismember whichever one you try to grow.
So an Arcbound Ravager with 2 counters up against this 3/3 Arcbound Worker. No ways to sacrifice it, no ways to boost it that at least we can see. Another Arcbound Ravager with 4 counters has this Inkmoth Nexus in front of it, and it's 2 Inkmoth Nexus at the back of this field flying over. Currently nothing stopping them, and now the consideration is if Matt Ness this turn wants to go all in because he can produce the 10 poison counters if there is not a Dismember in Alexander Haynes' hand.
To be fair, the way this would work, if I was from Matt's seat and didn't know what Haynes' hand was, you could sacrifice this, make the other Arcbound Ravager go up to 4, so they're both 4. Then you can sacrifice one of the Ravagers to the other, and then move the 4 counters to one of the Nexi or the Inkmoth Nexus while growing the Ravager, and then put those counters on Nexus. So if you have the 10 counters, you kill Hayne right away, and if there's a Dismember, you still have a land to kill Hayne next turn. But then Hayne would have access to Nexus. I kind of like this a little more, which is basically saying, well, I'm going to be so far ahead in this position, I probably shouldn't risk it. But that's what Matt is considering here, is do I go for it or not? Because Matt can split the counters between the 2 Inkmoths and still deal lethal damage, Matt may do it, because at that point the risk-reward ratio goes a lot more towards this is probably okay. The one consideration is that Inkmoth from Hayne would be in play, so then it means that Matt would win in 2 turns with a Dismember. And yeah, all of this is going through Matt's head. Whether you go for it or not is the really tough call. And we know Matt would win, but Matt doesn't know that Matt would win.
And that's always, you know, there's always the benefit of having perfect information. And having that ability to bring yourself down to the table and only kind of keep one half of the information in mind is something that is difficult to conceptualize, but it can really do a lot to explain the way that the game is shaping.
Right. I both miss and do not miss Jitaxian Pro. I miss being able to play with it. I certainly don't miss my opponents casting the card. It turned games of Magic into certainties. And this is kind of why you like having imperfect information. It creates these game states where the right answer isn't quite correct. But yeah, if we see Matt sacrificing the Ravager here, then most... So there's two lines. If Matt sacrifices neither of these Ravagers, then... I mean, yeah, so that's what Matt is going for. You're going to see either both go or one go, or none go, because having just one go doesn't make much sense.
So that means that because the Arcbound Worker has modular, it is going to transfer its +1/+1 counters to the Inkmoth Nexus, which survived because one of those welding jars was sacrificed into the graveyard. So now it is 2 forests, a potentially 4/4 Inkmoth Nexus, and a welding jar against Matt Nass, who has got a couple of massive Arcbound Ravagers, one of them down to 3. The infect of the Inkmoth Nexus meant that it actually put a -1/-1 counter onto it, canceled out one of those +1/+1s.
Yeah, but and the reason Matt didn't go for it is exactly what you can see. Matt went, what's this going to look like afterwards? It looks pretty good for Matt, so that's why Matt didn't go for it. Matt realizes there's not much that Hayne can do to punish me, so we're just going to keep things as they are and swiftly get rid of the board. And then when the coast is clear, be happy about it.
It looks like it is going to be a 2-mana play here. It's Steel Overseer. That is just going to be a pass back. It's a 1/1 that when it has the opportunity to come away from Summoning Sickness, can tap and put a +1/+1 counter on each artifact creature you control. That's going to go right back to Matt Nass.
Yeah. And one thing here, Matt would have maybe gone for it as a result of the Steel Overseer threatening to take over the board. But Matt top deck Walking Ballista, so I think we're going to see more of the same, especially since this Walking Ballista with Hardened Scales. I mean, that's an Arcbound Ravager. Now that's a sweet combo.
Oh, my.
And when Haynes sees, like, Matt tapping 2 Ravagers, he knows. He just knows. It's clear what's... Matt has either Hangerback Walker or Walking Ballista, and this game is going to slip away.
Then the consideration becomes, do you even bother blocking if it's going to die anyway? I think you have to hope that he doesn't have it.
I think with Hayne at 20, you're okay to take this hit.
Yeah. And it is going to be the Walking Ballista. That is going to be where X equals 2, but it is actually going to be entering with 3 +1/+1 counters. You combine Walking Ballista as well as Arcbound Ravagers. This is the kind of card that can just inflict enormous amounts of punishment.
Well, sure. It just dominates the board completely. Once, and that's the thing, is most of these creatures require time, right? Like Hangerback Walker, Steel Overseer. All these creatures would rather have an extra turn to kind of deploy themselves, and Walking Ballista cuts off that avenue. And the fact that Matt can just dominate, essentially make sure that Inkmoth Nexus is never dealing lethal damage. Like, it might come in for 4 infect, but that's about where we're going to stop the affairs. The thing is, you can just sacrifice 1 Ravager to it and deal with that problem quite cleanly. And yeah, Alex just extends the hand. There's just nothing he can do at this point.
Matt Nass with Artifacts picks up a win here for the match. Now the other 2 are both still ongoing. It's Thiago Saporito up against Sam Pardee, 1-1. Luis Salvato also up a game on Palavitor Domidarosa. And we are going to be heading on over to one of those matches here pretty shortly, trying to catch up on it. And this is going to be to that table 1.
Ooh, 2 life.
And it is 2 life to 9. A Selfless Spirit threatening lethal. Never mind. All right.
We tried. So here in the booth, we tried to have convincing narratives.
You know, who brings the dawn at 1:30 in the afternoon, Eduardo? Like, that's just not a good time for it. This is a 5/5 lifelink first strike flying. What are you going to do?
I mean, Lyra is all about it. Lyra's coming from a different time zone. That said, I mean, Paolo probably doesn't have a way to deal with this Lyra in play, since most of those cards are not cards you would want against a blue-white control deck, which is why, right, that sideboard plan of having Lyra is so powerful.
One thing I like here, using that Path to Exile on the only creature that can sacrifice itself on the board in combat.
It's pretty good.
It's good against lifelink.
Yeah, but, I mean, technically, Paolo could cast a spell and block Lyra, but that's not exactly getting where you want to be. I think at this point, Luis is actually going to just lock this game up. The Colonnades were already in play without the Lyra. I also like that Luis has 1 Lyra and 1 Baneslayer Angel, so you get that extra tribal angel effect there.
The 1-1 split.
Yeah.
I know. I was talking to Jake about it. He prefers Baneslayer, but he's 100% for this because it just makes the Baneslayer better.
Yes, exactly.
All right, Lyra Dawnbringer.
And we also don't have to worry about Caracas, which was a consideration last week. Yeah.
There is the attack in the legendary 5/5, and it's Teferi, Hero of Dominaria.
We're playing standard, right? There's like search for a scan of the second root, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, Lyra Dawnbringer.
Who let Colonnades onto this board?
I don't know.
Even Field of Ruin.
And also what makes me laugh is that Celestial Colonnade is a callback to Sarah Sphinx and Sarah Angel, but it's not an angel itself.
Yep.
No tribal synergy.
All right, that is going to do it for Luis Salvato. That means that he is going to take down his match into and the game between Sam Pardee and Thiago Saporito likely ongoing. Let's take a look. You know, these players showed up to play. It's humans up against Hollow One. This is where we started our journey, and it looks like this is where we are going to be finishing it.
Yeah, and Sam is just saying, I mean, if Sam is attacking here, that's lethal, and that's it.
Bam! 1, 2, 3. Sam Pardee able to lock up the win for his teammates Matt Nass and Paulo Vitor Damaderosa. Luis Salvato comes away with a win for himself, but unfortunately because of the dynamics of Unified Team, that is going to be a setback on his journey towards hopefully the top tables.
Right, but at least you still have many more rounds to play.
Absolutely. We're only in round 4 right now, kind of finishing up our first play set of matches of the day. And we are certainly going to be seeing a lot more Magic played, not only in this round, but in this day, in this weekend. We're just going to be chock full of Modern.
I mean, yeah, it's just Modern Central here in Detroit.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have it any other way, really.
All right, well, we're going to have more Magic coming your way right after this. Back here at Grand Prix Detroit, TJ Rogers joined still by Eduardo Sajgalik, absolutely loving it so far, and we have got more time walk magic to head on down to, so let's get right to it. And we're kicking things off at Table B. It is Gregory Orange up against Martin Yuza. Take a look at this table on the right. Two Pro Tour winners lining up on this one, Gregory Orange and Wyatt Darby. And if you're looking at that third name at the top, a little bit of story there. He's going up against Corey Burkhart. Daniel Weiser top-aided Grand Prix Minneapolis shortly before his very good friend, Sam Ithenfeld, top-aided the Pro Tour. Now, Corey Burkhart just last round defeated Sam Ithenfeld. Dan Weiser might be looking for a little bit of revenge up there, but for now, it is a burning inquiry for Martin Yuza to kick things off when Orange just threw down a Glacial Fortress.
Yeah. Burning Inquiry, I believe, is anywhere from Ancestral Recall to Triple Fotzies per player.
A him and a half.
Yeah, him and a half.
We're going to lose Flamewake Phoenix, Goblin Lore, and a Swamp. Not bad. And on the other side, it's Logic Knot, Opt, and a Field of Ruin. Heading into the graveyard. Do we have any copies of Hollow One? Oh, passing after a Burning Inquiry? That's not what the game plan was.
Nope. That said, Greg Orange is a little land light. Yeah, just Field of Ruin. Greg really needs to draw a land next turn.
He draws into an Oust. This is a card that recently a lot of these blue-white decks have sort of been battling between Condemn and Oust, it feels like. But he actually, he showed up with a little bit extra.
Yeah, he has like... So yeah, Oust is kind of this card that almost would see play. But because you have Path to Exile and other options, it usually doesn't end up in the decks. But sometimes it's just the right weekend. And with a ton of humans in the field, Gregory Orange was like, I'm going to hit those creature decks hard.
Looks like it's going to be Goblin Lore here from Martin Yuza, and it is going to be draw 4. That is a big hand, and we're going to be getting rid of 3 of them at random. A shuffle of the hand, pointing out 3 of them. It's Lightning Bolt, it is Bloodghast, and it is Flamewake Phoenix. That is a good 3. Well, the Flamewake Phoenix, 2 copies, and 1 copy of the Bloodghast.
Martin's hand is just chock full of Bloodghast and Flamewake Phoenixes.
Oh my goodness.
This match usually comes down to how you can essentially sequence your recursive threats. You're trying to play around Terminus. You're trying to play around Detention Sphere. You want to put some of these recursive threats in play, but not all of them. If you put all of them, then they would all go, since a lot of the removal that the blue-white decks have, exiles. So you're trying to time it so that you put enough pressure, but not put all of it and then get locked out of the game by a single Terminus.
You know, he's got the opportunity here. If he uses that Blood Crypt to go for the Tasigur and it sticks around, he could be looking at bringing back 3 Flamewake Phoenixes next turn because he's got the 3rd Mountain in hand, and that would be an incredible amount of damage to just throw across the board from 0 to 10.
Yeah, but again, it's a question of how much you want to bring back and what do you want to bring back. So starting here with a Tasigur just to have the information, don't play the land, since there's no spell that really punishes you for not playing the land here. And just give Gregory Orange a little bit less info.
Yeah, the only one that could really maybe get in the way is Logic Knot, and without the double blue mana, that's not really a possibility right now. We're going to get back a land. It's a couple of Bloodghast, and it's time to kick it back. Gregory Orange might be looking to activate this Field of Ruin. Not so much to disrupt Martin, but more to just enable himself.
Right, you need that second color of mana. He has in hand Cryptic Command. That is a spell that has a slight color requirement to it.
Yeah.
Slight. It's just minor. But yeah, the reason Gregory didn't Field of Ruin before, usually these Hollow One decks they might play a basic Swamp, but that's kind of it. And I believe Martin discarded it earlier. So yes, Gregory Orange could have locked Martin out of black, but by doing so would have given Martin landfall, and that wasn't certain that Martin had a land in hand for those Bloodghasts.
All right, it's going to be an island as the draw, which means that Cryptic Command is online. It's certainly a card that wants to hang out with you in the mana cost. Not
Oh
too
my
much.
lord.
That's too
No,
much.
no. Right, but here it's kind of Gregory has access to 2 Jaces. The Jace on this board is just Brainstorm, essentially, at sorcery speed for 4 mana. Not the card you want. That said, you do have to deploy at some point. I think Gregory here, the best plan you have, buy time with these Cryptics, try to get to a Terminus, and set it up later. Just Jace, put it on top, Terminus.
One potential situation is to wait until combat. If those 2 Flamewake Phoenixes come back, pays to bring those ones back, you could then tap down the team with this Cryptic, untap. That Detention Sphere could sweep all 3 of those Phoenixes off the field.
Right, yeah. And it's just a question whether Martin brings them back or not. Martin will have to decide, is it worth, do I have enough pressure on the board, or do I need to bring these Phoenixes back? And he just goes for, like, broke, the whole thing.
Let's do it. There's the Cryptic command to tap down this team. We're going to draw a card, and I think that might have been a Snapcaster.
Yeah.
If my quick glances at Magic cards are, yep, looks like that's the case.
Yeah, Gregory really wants to draw a Terminus. A second white source would also be really nice, just to be able to go something like Detention Sphere plus Oust. Since Detention Sphere on Phoenix, as you mentioned, it would be amazing, but you still have to deal with 8 damage in play. So Oust on a Tasker on top of a Detention Sphere, that would put Gregory in a really solid position.
And that Tassiger is a little bit of a liability right now. There's only 3 cards in the graveyard and no black mana on the field.
Yeah, it would be. And yeah, again, because that swamp went away, the black sources that Martin could play is essentially all the fetch lands in 1 Blood Crypt, since one of those is in the graveyard from the Field of Ruin. So yeah, I mean, I think Gregory really needed that land. Without that land, Gregory would have been in trouble.
Looks like we might be looking at a Burning Inquiry, seeing what we can come up with.
I mean, Gregory's hand is pretty powerful. So Burning Inquiry, I mean, we're going to see what happens, but yeah.
If he loses the Detention Sphere, that could be incredible, though.
Wow, that was like Opt Terminus.
Mm-hmm. Narrowly missing what would have been a devastating play.
Yeah, but then again, Cryptic plus 2 lands into Terminus is good enough. Although there goes that plan.
Okay.
The Cryptic and the Terminus left.
And a land.
Yeah, the Colonnade would have been a great land too.
So we're left with, I don't think I see a white mana in that hand, so he's hoping to draw one off the top to just try and prevent some of that damage coming in, but he was able to hold on to that Detention Sphere. He's also got access to Opt, so he could end up just using that one instead to maybe facilitate the land. He could actually use the Opt, try and find a white source, and then go for the Detention Sphere.
Yeah, it's because you're looking for a land and there's not much else to do, that would make sense. It's just a question here of what we're trying to set up to buy time. The Cryptic command is gone. So that option, so you're probably taking a hit here for 8 if you don't get that white source.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we trying to do here? I think Gregory's thinking about Snapcaster plus Cryptic, but that requires 2 land drops, and to get 2, you have to start with the first one, as unlikely as it may be to have them.
Opt, put that card on the bottom, draw for turn. It's another copy of Oust.
Yeah, de-sphere those Phoenixes.
Whew. All right, man, that is just backbreaking. Those cards are so recursive and so difficult to remove normally. And now one card is just going to sweep them up with yesterday's trash.
Sure, but even it looks bad until you realize Martin still has 10 power, including that 4 Phoenix.
Oh, man, should have waited to go for all 4.
I mean,
No.
what you know what's the best way to gain card advantage?
Yeah, tell me more.
Put your opponent at 0 life. All their cards are gone then.
That's a good point.
Infinite cards.
Flameblade Adept hits the battlefield. It's hanging out up at the top. And it's that 1/2 with Menace that whenever you discard a card, it's going to get +1, +0. Look for that one to be coming in with a bit of a vengeance as this game goes on. He's got a couple copies of Burning Inquiry in hand, and if he can fire those ones off, that card can get out of hand pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of the cards that powers up the deck, right? Burning Inquiry, Goblin Lore get it to 4 power for Flamewake Phoenix, and it's just a very efficient 1-mana beater. Here, Gregory is just going, well, I guess I'll bluff this Cryptic, and Martin's going to go combat, and then we're going to move on. Because there's no path to exile, you can't even just go something like path, Snapcaster block, path again. So Gregory is going to take a ton of damage with very little to stop it. I guess you would Snapcaster to block Tasigur. But if Martin had... Yeah. But... Well, Martin had the option... Oh, Martin has Lightning Bolt. So this is... And Martin had the option for Burning Inquiry, but Lightning Bolt's good enough you wouldn't fire it off now.
And you're maybe looking for a path to exile here? We're going to draw it. Yeah, that is not going to be enough. Way too much damage, way too fast. And we are now going to jump on over to Corey Baumeister up against Wyatt Darby. It looks like we have got humans up against Tron. Oh, my goodness. There's an Ugin underneath the Kite Sail Freebooter, and I thought, well, that's pretty good for Wyatt. And then I looked over to the left side, and there is Ugin, the Ceaseless Hunger, and Emrakul. We are at 2 out of the 3 boxes checked for the Eldrazi Titans. Just a Kozilek would really put a bow on this.
Sure. I don't think we're going to see Kozilek appear, unfortunately. Nice thing, though, they don't have Trample. Actually...
I think Emrakul might.
I'm trying to remember. There's this. That card was a headache. You know, it's the 13-13 flyer part that I remember. I believe that that Emrakul, the Promise Set, does have Trample.
It does. Flying Trample, protection from instants. It does it all.
Everything.
For all those instants in the Humans deck that don't exist, they're especially ineffective.
Yeah, and here this Oblivion Stone is going to spell the end. I mean, Wyatt had the choice to block, but yeah, this is just going to end it. The Oblivion Stone does get rid of Emrakul, but it also doesn't get rid of this Ulamog, Indestructible. Ugin, the Spirit Dragon, is not a card that humans can beat in play. So you're going to have to see probably Meddling Mage on Ugin, the Spirit Dragon.
Sure. That Dismember in hand for Corey Bauma. Oh, no, because he can't cast it. He's at 3 life. So he actually cannot go for that.
This is a really close game, actually, because here Corey will want to attack, forcing a block of Noble Hierarch, and then Wyatt could top deck 1 damage. But yeah, again, it would involve Corey having nothing.
We're probably going to cycle this Relic of Progendus to kick things off. Maybe try and find a Karn, something else that he can just clean this up a little bit.
Yeah, depending on the amount of mana left, you could also do the Sylvan Scrying first. And it seems like with Freer's Tower, we're pretty safe on the mana front.
Oh, and we're going to go for a Horizon Canopy. So another option, couple of redraws.
Yeah,
available.
Horizon Canopy is not a standard in these green Tron lists, so that's actually a really interesting addition.
He uses that last mana that was remaining.
We got Karn liberated.
Oh, man, called shot by me. I'll take credit for that.
It's all good. Oh. It just required, basically it required Wyatt to draw the perfect card and Corey to draw absolute blanks.
All right, so if Karn comes down, what's your target?
Let's see, how do we, I mean, at this point, you're just trying to not die to Mantis Rider. And that Chromatic Star actually helps a lot. By playing Star, you can filter the black mana into Dismember, and, wait, what, no. Aw.
You'd be able to pay 2 life for it.
Yeah, so we're just trying to... Okay, so Ulamog is lethal, so you attack. So that kills Noble Hierarch. Then you play Karn Liberated. I'm trying to remember how much mana is floating here.
So one thing that is going to be sort of the final end-all be-all.
Oh, you could just Karn plus Dismember. Black was floated. This is a much better line. You just attack for lethal damage.
Oh, because you eliminate both of those creatures. Okay, otherwise I was concerned about something like a Mantis Rider off the top, but... Cleanly answer both creatures, go down to 1, attack for lethal, and now we head into the other one. It's Daniel Weiser trying to get vengeance up a game against Corey Burkhart, who uses a Path to Exile on this Hangerback Walker.
Yeah, the Wyatt Darby token. It's good to use your teammates' tokens, right?
You know, it's interesting that we're looking at blue-white control here, and if you look a bit closer, you'll notice that Daniel Weiser has had 5 land drops.
Yeah, I mean,
so far.
It looks like Corey did not do much this game.
No. A Stony Silence comes down.
That card would have been good on, I guess, 1,000 turns ago.
Give or take.
Yeah.
Some number of them, yeah. And you see Daniel Weiser not even actually go for something like a Nature's Claim on... I'm sorry, not going to activate his Walking Ballista, maybe just looking to have his Nature's Claim eventually clean that up to where he'd still be able to use that Walking Ballista.
Yeah, I mean... Essentially here, the Nature's Claim does against blue-white has a real drawback. Giving your opponent 4 life in a matchup like this is actually not something you want to do, since you are trying to race your opponent. So, yeah, but you saw Corey discarding Logic Knot. And Daniel's up a game, so this would be a really big setback if Corey can win from this position. It looks like Corey mulligan and then didn't hit the second land drop.
And there is the Nature's Claim. Walking Ballista back online. We've also got access to Arcbound Ravager. The full team is there. We've got the Ravager, the Worker, the Ballista.
It's worth noting that Ravager can essentially convert straight into damage for each sacrifice with that Walking Ballista. And since the Walking Ballista is attacking, this essentially means you can deal 2 damage per artifact. 1, pumping the Ballista by 1, and also and then removing a counter.
And with these 2 Thopters, this looks like it's going to be a lethal swing. By sacrificing those, there's going to be a hit in for 8. That's going to knock Corey down to 7.
And then we're good.
And then we're good. That's going to be the handshake. Daniel Weiser able to clean up there, takes the full match win up against Corey Burkhart. And now Gregory Orange and Wyatt Darby both have their work cut out for them. They both lost their first game against Martin Hughes and Corey Baumeister.
Yeah. But I really like Gregory here. Like Ancestral Visions is a really good card in matchups like this. They usually have recursive threats and disruption. Like Thoughtseize is going to come in for sure in a matchup like this. So something like Ancestral Visions really combats that plan and allows you to trade 1 for 1. But yeah, wow, that is a lot of lands from Gregory Orange. He discarded free and still has access to 2 in hand. That could have been a real problem if Orange had discarded more spells, because there's not many to look for.
I think I saw, if I saw what I think I saw, I think there was a Lyra Dawnbringer.
Yeah, and I think a Supreme Verdict too.
So can...
This looks, if that was Supreme Verdict Lyra, then Gregory Orange is super far ahead.
Oh no, the 2 hollow ones, they're in the bin. It looks like you may have seen it. These players, they're going to speed up just a little bit, maybe for our benefit. That's the beauty of Time Walk, you know?
Yeah, this technology, man, it's great.
Sometimes time's a bit faster than others. Personally, I feel like Teferi has something to do with it.
Manipulates time, so every time Teferi is involved.
Oh yeah.
This might be a while.
We've actually got
2 Bloodghasts.
3 Bloodghasts.
Oh wow, yeah. There's a lot in there.
Yep.
Plus, Juice has access to the 3rd hollow one in hand.
My goodness.
But it doesn't look like there's an answer to a potential Lyra Dawnbringer.
So the hollow one enters. It's 10 damage on the battlefield against Gregory Orange, who is just going to play down a... Whoa, my. Okay. Does this change? Man, the math on this one is going to be a little bit interesting.
It's pretty easy to calculate here. Gurmag Angler would get blocked. Then you gain 5, and then you have 10 damage. So you take 5 and remove Angler, which is not a winning proposition for Martin.
And it looks like Detention Spear. We saw it before, eliminating the Flamewake Phoenixes. All about the 3-for-1s from Gregory Orange. He's going to get rid of these Bloodghast. There's now 9 damage on the battlefield. A 5-5 and a 4-4. If there's any... Yep, Path to Exile is going to clean up this Gurmag Angler. And suddenly this Lyra Dawnbringer is going to dominate the board.
Yeah, and instead of tapping out for Lyra Dawnbringer, Gregory realized that he would be quite far ahead by just going Detention Sphere plus Lyra later. By doing Lyra right away, if Martin had an answer, say Martin decided to tech a Liliana of the Veil or something special, then you just lose on the spot. While here you untap in a much safer position. Yeah, so I kind of like just playing the Lyra here rather than the other options. You want a Terminus later once that explosive blows up.
But then the Terminus would get rid of your own Lyra.
Sure. I mean, we're not getting to that stage. And if you get to that stage where the board is so big that a Lyra doesn't do it, then you'll gladly play Terminus.
Okay. All right, well, it's the 5-5. It's got flying. It's got lifelink. Life is good. It gives all your other angels +1/+1 if you do feel the need to do so.
I had to remind my opponent in a Dominaria draft game that their Tiana had +1/+1 in lifelink.
Oh, no.
That was not a happy moment.
One thing to keep in mind as well is that Lyra has first strike. So normally against, a 5-5 with a 4-4, you might try and combine an attack step and a lightning bolt to try and clean it up, at least for the future. Not an option on this. Thoughtseize is going to take a look, and we see, is that Cryptic in the middle alongside Terminus and Jace the Mind Sculptor?
That's what it looks like to me. And the Cryptic goes, it's probably the most... You take Cryptic in spots like this when your opponent has a lot of mana just because it's the card that gives them the most options. Unless the other card is backbreaking and game-ending, The line is, well, they can always cryptic and do whatever is best for them, so I'm going to just take the card here.
Okay, so the focus on the modality spells. It's an attack in for 5, down to 5, up to 16. This game does not look quite like it did just a couple of turns ago. Jace the Mind Sculptor enters in, feeling safe enough to go for the Brainstorm mode. Terminus. Oh, okay, so now that Terminus is the second card. I like the ability to play around with Opt in that card.
Yeah, and that was basically the line is Gregory is just going to see how this attack pans out and can decide whether to opt Terminus or not. And that's the power of Jason the Mind Sculptor and Terminus. It's not something we've had access to except out in Legacy, so it's really powerful to see it here in Modern. I mean, Gregory is playing 4 copies of Terminus, the full number.
And we did see him put it the second card from the top.
Yeah, so opt, bottom the island, draw the card.
All right, and is that just to allow for if you don't need the Terminus, you don't need to try and get rid of it with Opt before heading into your draw step next turn?
Right, you get rid of the island no matter what that you don't want with the Opt, and then you can just redraw the Terminus. You don't have to cast it. It's not an obligation. So you can just have it in hand and have it with Jace. You could actually even just not play the Opt, re-brainstorm with Jace, and have it up just in case something goes wrong.
All right, so we have got +3/+0 because of this Goblin Lore. We do also have the ability to pay a red mana and get back that Flamewake Phoenix.
This is looking like 16 damage. So Juice is going to try to go for lethal. And yeah, here, this is what I meant, right? You don't want to Terminus your own Lyra, but you'll do it gladly if the board gets to that point.
And now look at where we are at. Sure, at the loss of a Lyra, all of these recursive threats, we got back all of those Bloodghasts. Those are now on the bottom of the library, not the graveyard. That is a big game against what Martin Hughes is trying to do, which is purely resilient recursive threats.
Exactly, and I think there's a Celestial Colonnade hanging about. So you get to Jace this turn, sculpt your hand, get in with a Celestial Colonnade, putting Martin to 1 and putting him in an unwinnable position between a Jace the Mind Sculptor and a Celestial Colonnade. But put the Terminus on top in case something goes wrong, something weird.
It's always good to be prepared for the worst case scenario.
Yeah, I think people focus way too much on those though.
Yeah?
I find they don't spend enough time on, you know, the normal case scenarios where they're probably going to lose. Burning Inquiry here, fine. You could have mana leaked it since your opponent's forced can't really pay for it, but I like just letting this happen.
How do you like the style points of put Terminus on top with Jace, so that if Martin goes for the Burning Inquiry, you just go for the Terminus?
If you want to?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I don't know if that's a consideration since you would Inquiry first and then Creature later, but yeah.
All right, we're jumping on over to Corey Baumeister up against Wyatt Darby. Baumeister took game 1 with the power of Ulamog and Emrakul, but now it is 2 Thragtusks that are on the board facing down a Meddling Mage, a Mantis Rider, a Noble Hierarch, and a Thalia. That Noble Hierarch able to give Exalted to these attackers if they are attacking alone. That Mantis Rider does have Vigilance.
Yeah, and here, usually Tron and Humans is closer than most people would believe, but the thing that's important is that Corey has designed the Tron deck to be a little more mid-rangey post-sideboard, so these 4 copies of Fractusk, essentially being able to protect the board, put pressure, and gain life to race. So it's a little bit of a more middling version of Tron that gives you just a tiny edge against Humans. It's not much, but I kind of like the direction they took the deck. That said, you really want Ugin the Spirit Dragon. You want Oblivion Stone. These are cards that allow you to pull ahead.
All right, so let's see what we can do. I don't think we know what this Meddling Mage is actually on at the moment. And I don't think that anything in Corey's hand gave me the indication of what that might be. Probably an assumption is a card like Ugin or Oblivion Stone.
Yeah, you usually would name, well, if you see the hand, then you name that card. But if you don't, usually you would name something like...
Oh, and actually, okay, it might be Ugin that is...
I would believe it's Ugin the Spirit Dragon.
Yep.
Because we have Tron in play and nothing is preventing it.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a mine, a power plant, and a tower. So
yeah. that Meddling Mage has got to be on Ugin.
I mean, we can see a freebooter in the graveyard, so maybe it was taken, or the hand was seen earlier.
Gotcha.
So yeah, here the question is, okay, the Ugin is not castable, but if Corey draws with Nature's Claim without an artifact, I think it's safe to take the claim.
The only card that really can punish this is something like Spatial Contortion
Yeah.
out of the sideboard, because you could kill the Meddling Mage without killing the Kite Self Rebooter, but most of the options that would remove these are going to be really sweeping removal spells.
Right, there's also Oblivion Stone. So I guess in that context, you take Nature's Claim for killing your own artifact to buy a turn, or do you take the Ugin because you would lose to it plus another card? The thing is, you're going to lose to Oblivion Stone anyway, so that card's kind of out of the equation. It's really just the Spatial Contortion you mentioned.
Okay. So Corey Baumeister falls in this one, and we are going to be jumping into Gregory Orange up against Martin Yuza. We saw that one line up a
Hollow
little
1
bit.
and Hollow 2.
It's Serum Visions from Gregory Orange, and I like Serum Visions, but the power level of these respective plays feels different.
Yeah. Did you like the little, like, I drew Terminus off Serum Visions?
When you have no extra mana. That's just,
I mean, it doesn't matter because it's the second card, but it's just kind of a dagger. It's like, had I not done this faction.
There's the Thoughtseize, and we are going to get to see that.
He points it out.
Guess
He's
what
like,
I drew?
Guess what I drew?
It's a Teferi, Snapcaster, Opt, and Terminus. 3 lands to back them up.
At this point, with 2 Hollow Ones in play, the pressure, Flame Wake Phoenix in the graveyard, it's down to top decking Terminus. There's not much else that Gregory Orange can do. This is 10 damage. Down to 8. You need the Terminus. You can pass the turn and do it on their turn, though. And this is what it's going to come down to. Are you opting into Terminus, or are you just taking lethal damage?
Oh, let's see Opt into Terminus. Live the
Bottom
dream.
it first.
Live the dream.
Nothing. I definitely would have slammed the card, though.
You got to go
because you're playing it. If it's Path to Exile, you're playing it. If it's Terminus, you're playing it.
It's dead or bust, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so that is going to actually even up the matches. We saw Daniel Weiser take a match win previously. Martin Yuza now gets his win, and we're going to be back into the deciding game. Wyatt Darby up against Corey Baumeister. Both of these players with 1 game. This is the 3rd match. This is about as much as we could have drawn it out.
Yep. Well, I mean, I guess Corey could have tried to win a game.
Yeah, Corey. All right, so we have got the Walking Ballista removing the Thalia, and now it's an Ether Vial on 2.
Yeah, and you kill the Thalia here with Ballista, since the Ballista rarely gets to kill 2 creatures until a little later down the line. So getting rid of Thalia and allowing and enabling your plays, your Ancient Stirrings, your Chromatic Stars, to not cost 2 mana and be really inefficient is a good line to take here. Also, Corey may have a Ugin the Spirit Dragon or Oblivion Stone in hand, and killing Thalia now allows that 8 mana play to happen.
All right, it's going to be Meddling Mage, Champion of the Parish. Now, we'll have to see what we end up naming off of that. That's a +1/+1 counter on the Champion of the Parish. Ooh, Gaddock Teague.
So usually you name Oblivion Stone with Meddling Mage anyway, since it's the 4 of and Ugin isn't. And then you can Gaddock Teague to lock out Ugin. So between Meddling Mage and Gaddock Teague, you lock out both options. It also locks out Karn Liberated. And wow, Corey had Oblivion Stone, Karn Liberated, and Ugin the Spirit Dragon in hand. All locked out, all gone. Corey needs a removal spell stat.
Oh my goodness. It's Chromatic Sphere that comes down to the battlefield. While he's doing that...
Spatial Contortion. But it also looks like Corey doesn't have a land, so maybe being locked out of these cards is just a function of not having them.
He's got a shot, though.
Yeah.
He had 1 mana floating from this Chromatic Sphere, and he's actually going to point it at the card that isn't doing any of this, at the Champion of the Parish.
That's a really interesting decision. I mean, unless this Meddling Mage isn't naming Oblivion Stone.
Oh, is that on Ballista? That is on Ballista.
Wow, that's... I just think that just is incorrect in my view. You're not losing to the card Walking Ballista, but you definitely will be losing to the card Oblivion Stone.
And if that is on Ballista, that means that if Corey finds the last piece of Tron, he'd be able to play and activate that, and then he'd be sitting with a Karn as well as an Ugin in hand. Now, Gaddock Teague, just to break that one down, it's not a card that is super common. Green and a white for a 2/2. It's a Kithkin, not a human, so you can't use your Cavern of Souls for the colored mana on that one. But you can put it into play off of something like an Ether Vial. It says non-creature spells with converted mana cost 4 or greater can't be cast. There's the O-Stone.
Why? This is what I mean. This is why you name Oblivion Stone. You don't require Tron. I mean, Corey has Tron. Right. But you don't require it. You could have just played it for free mana and then popped it for 5.
Oh, no.
So, like, this is why you name Oblivion Stone, for this exact reason.
Now we have to get as much damage in as we can. The other aspect of Gaddock, less relevant, non-creature spells with X in their mana cost. Can't be cast. The Walking Ballista is the main X cost, but that one is a
creature, yeah. That's an important distinction, yeah. Gaddock does not affect creatures. But yeah, here, I honestly think
oh no,
Wyatt might have given out the equity here. I mean, for sure, if Corey would have killed the Meddling Mage had it been on Oblivion Stone, but then the champion might have been able to do more damage, and then Wyatt had access to another Meddling Mage, but I probably drew it one turn too late. I think Corey would probably still be in a commanding position this game, but from Wyatt's perspective, you should just name the card that blows you out here. I mean, Stone literally blows out the world.
He might name Ugin now, but he had a backup Oblivion Stone to follow up the first one. It is Ugin that gets named. He's got Ancient Strings in hand and 7 mana available. This could just be Karn and Ancient Strings.
Yeah, I mean, at this point we're in happy land as far as the drawn player is concerned. Things can't go too wrong. The only thing you want to make sure, putting that card in play is important, just in case Wyatt had access to Damping Sphere to get rid of it.
And we're actually going to start attacking the hand just to make sure that nothing can happen that we don't want. Could be Phantasmal Image into... Actually, we don't have the mana for it? We do. Phantasmal Image on a Meddling Mage, name something else.
Right away, yeah. It's more. We're attacking the hand more because it's +4 loyalty than because we care about the cards in hand. It means that Mantis Rider can't come down, and yeah, Hugin here. Let's have fun. And Wyatt should draw a card and extend the hand, or let Corey have fun.
I mean, there's always the chance that Corey's
at 1.
Like, this Mantis Rider?
This was close.
Well,
I mean, it's not quite done because Corey was down to 7. So that was very close.
Oh, and now actually we're at a situation where even a Mantis Rider off the top won't do it because the O-Stone is now available.
But we have Fractus. We're good.
And Thragtusk. Why not? Everything.
Yeah. At this point, you're pretty safe. You don't need to O-Stone anything. There's nothing that's going to come out and surprise you.
Name a card that Tron wanted here. So there it is.
Yeah. I mean, but interestingly...
Oh, no.
I mean, this is ludicrous, but had Wyatt named O-Stone, that Champion of the Parish would have been in play. That would have been extra damage, and that would have been the damage that Wyatt needed to win this game for not just himself, win the match and win it for his team. So really naming Walking Ballista cost Wyatt, I think, the match here.
All right, well, that is going to be the win for Corey Baumeister, giving his team the win. That was the final deciding factor, and of course, that is going to sort of tie up this round 4 here at Grand Prix Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy that for me, it was like the fluidity. We got to kind of see a swath of Modern as we walked down the tables and saw different matchups play out, which was Lyra Dawnbringer, though, Modern staple.
Modern staple. All right, well, that is going to do it here at round 4. I'm TJ Rogers, joined by Eduardo Sajkalik, and we will be right back with round 5 here at Grand Prix Detroit.
Show off your love of Magic the Gathering with premium statues from Prime 1 Studios. Each figure stands 28 inches tall and is carefully sculpted in high-quality resin. Pre-order yours today at SideshowCollectibles.com.